Hey guys, this is Spencer Hakimian with What's Moving Your Money. On today's episode, our pilot episode, we're going to talk about Liberation Day 2.0, all the tariffs that we've announced so far on, specifically this episode will be about Europe, Canada, and Mexico's trade tariffs that we've announced, what this means for markets, what this means for the economy. Is this just another negotiation tactic? Is this another bluff? Are we going to see another taco scenario here? So we're going to get right into it very quickly. So stay tuned and enjoy the episode. So over the weekend, Trump announced a 30% tariff on all goods coming out of Europe, Canada, and Mexico. So just to put this into a little bit of context for you, we do roughly 1 trillion of trade with the European Union. So that's all the members of the European Union, not including the United Kingdom, the UK, per year. We do around $750 billion a year worth of trade with Mexico, and we do $700 billion worth of trade with Canada. These are our three largest trading blocks, and you put them together, this equals roughly $3 trillion out of $7 trillion worth of trade, or roughly just about 40% of all the trade the United States does. Needless to say, and we don't have to get into it in so much details in this episode, a 30% tariff is just going to halt trade. If it doesn't halt trade, it's going to make trade so expensive such that you will get shortages and all those things, inflation, all those things that we spoke about in April. But we don't have to talk about that this episode because we already know all the negatives of if we actually go through with these tariffs. My worry is something about markets and market pricing and signals that the president might not be getting. So if you guys recall, back in April, what made Trump back down on those tariffs? What made him pause the tariffs? It was that the stock market fell 20% in 4 or 5 trading days. It's that bond yields surged roughly 50 basis points in 3 or 4 trading days. It's that the dollar was falling in unison with all of these events, which was highly atypical during all of these things. For all intents and purposes, we had a mini financial crisis in April, and the cumulative impact of all of those simultaneous crises was that Scott Bessent, whoever else it may have been in the White House, they were able to get Trump to walk off the ledge and do a 90-day pause on the tariffs to negotiate, whatever you want to call it. Bottom line, he paused the tariffs and they did not go into effect. We've since passed that 90-day deadline and we've extended it to August 1st. So we all know the narrative of Trump taco. Trump will always chicken out. Don't worry about him. He's too afraid of markets. Just stay invested. And I agree, for the most part, you should stay invested within your risk parameters. But, and this is really important and unique to this event, and no one's talking about it for whatever reason, markets are not reacting to Trump. That could actually be a problem. Follow me here. The stock market is nearly at an all-time high, just off an all-time high. Bond yields are not in crisis territory. The dollar isn't doing well, but it's not like in free fall or anything. Home prices are at all-time high. Unemployment is holding up for now, right? So Trump in his brain may not be getting the signals from the market of how devastating 30% tariffs on Europe, Canada, and Mexico would actually be if he went through with it, right? And if he does not get that signal from the market, what if he goes through with it? We know this guy has been speaking about tariffs for 50 years. For better or for worse, whether he's right or he's wrong, I clearly don't believe he's right on this, but he truly believes in tariffs as a tool, right? He only backs off when stuff hits the fan, right? If stuff is not hitting the fan, what do we do, right? If we don't get a correction in markets, does he go ahead with these tariffs? Because if he does, you can wipe away the second half of 2025. There's no way to do it. There's no way to do commerce. There's no way to do trade with these trade barriers in place. This is effectively an embargo that we are placing on countries like Europe, Mexico, Canada, let alone China, let alone Brazil, let alone whoever else has been tariffed in recent days, South Africa, whoever it may be. So we're at a little bit of a catch-22 here. Either the market, in my opinion, has to sell off a little bit here, or Trump believes these tariffs are a good idea, goes through with them, And then markets sell off anyway because earnings are going to get revised down. We saw back in April how quickly recession became consensus before Trump backed down. We saw how quickly companies were guiding him. We have a few weeks of inventory left and then our shelves will be bare. Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Lowe's, you name it, companies, auto companies, GM, Ford, they were saying we cannot do commerce if this is going on. So we have to look at this. Now, my next part of this podcast, I want to just talk a little briefly about what are we doing with all these tariffs, right? Why do we keep doing this, right? I'm not a Republican. I'm also not a Democrat. I think of myself as an independent. I just like to call balls and strikes. I see it how I see it. Sometimes I criticize the US government. Sometimes I praise the US government. But what are we doing with these tariffs? We're just bluffing nonsensical numbers, randomly generated numbers on countries. We did it in April. Now it looks like we're doing it all again now. We clearly cannot go through with this. Nobody, by the way, is coming to negotiate. Look, they had 90 days to negotiate a deal. They got one lousy deal done with the UK, and it wasn't even much of a deal. I don't even know what they negotiated at the end. Does anyone know? You can comment if you really know what they negotiated. I don't know. I didn't really see much that was so immaterial to the market, but please comment if you did. But my point is, why are we doing this? Like, we are wasting time as a country. Like, why are companies having to focus so much on tariff rates that are changing with a 3 a.m. Truth Social post? This is no way to do business. And we're seeing that somewhere like the dollar. I think foreigners are saying, why would we waste our time with this country? This is psychopathic. This is not normal how this country is behaving. Why would we can go to 100 different countries? We can go to the UAE. We can go to Singapore. We can go to Australia. We can invest anywhere. Why would we deal with this? Is craziness. So that's just a concern of mine, that we have to actually have a plan with these tariffs. It's not enough to go out and put psychotic, crazy numbers out every 3 months. Nothing materializes, extend pauses, and then say we're going to do more, right? And also, I think we're noticing this right now. I think Trump has boy who cried wolf syndrome, right? No one cares what he says anymore. No one's even trading on this anymore. That's not good. First of all, it's not good for the prestige of our country that the president of the United States says really material economic statements and markets don't even flinch on them because they don't take him seriously, right? But beyond that, what happens when he actually has to get a message across? When he has to actually do something? What if another COVID crisis, as an example, came around? How do we know that he's going to keep his word on things like fiscal stimulus that may happen, right? If the market doesn't believe him anymore, trust is like an eraser. The more you wither away at it, eventually it's gone. There's no more eraser left, and you can't use it anymore. So that's just a philosophical take that I've had. And again, my personal belief is that at the end, he's going to back down on these tariffs again, right? He's got people that are smart in the Oval Office that know he cannot go through with this, right? First of all, there's not even much of a reason to be tariffing countries like this. As an example, with the European Union, we have, let's say, $100 billion deficit on $1 trillion worth of trade. But guess what? The United States, we are the one we're selling them financial services. We're selling them tech software, right? We're selling them Goldman Sachs advisory work. We're selling them software subscriptions at 16% profit margin. They're sending us back Volkswagens at 6% profit margins and bottles of wine at 5% profit margins and tourism in the summer at maybe even 0% profit margins because how hotels are very cyclical. So I just don't see what is the need to negotiate with all these peoples. I agree with the president. Some things we can likely achieve with tariffs. As an example, I think we can use tariffs for advanced chips to get countries to not want to cooperate with China. We can put export controls as an example. We can do things in certain ways if they are targeted and they're coalition-based that they would work. But just, again, I don't know why, it feels like we're back to Liberation Day. Every country in the world gets a Truth Social post with a randomly generated number of their tariffs. So look, we have to look into this. We're going to monitor this all closely. It's coming up. I want you guys to let me know in the comments, what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you guys think we're going to go through with these tariffs? Do you guys think we're not? Do you support tariffs? Do you not support tariffs? A big part of this show for me and why I do this is I want to hear all your voices. Whether you agree with me, whether you disagree with me, I want to hear what you have to say. And I promise I'm going to try my best to always respond in the comments to all of you. If you follow me on Twitter, you see that I respond to comments nearly all the time. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and please tune in tomorrow. We have a very interesting episode about Brazil, copper, targeted tariffs, specifically targeted tariffs on raw commodities, and what that can mean for inflation going forward. So have a good day, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.